Hello and welcome back to the Three-Handed Bandits channel, the only YouTube channel where I say this. Forever and always joined by the most bilingual co-host on the YouTube platform, Aiden. How are we doing today?
Bueno.
As I said, bilingual. Today we're going to be breaking down the AFC Conference. We're going to tell you, give you record predictions, tell you who's going to make the playoffs, who is going to win the AFC Conference, who's going to make it to the Super Bowl. Before we get into all of that, please go ahead and like and subscribe and share this video with somebody you care about. So we're just going to get right into the nitty gritty, and we're going to talk about what some people think is the worst division in the NFL. We'll just start with the AFC South. Just get done out of the way, get the gross one out of the way. AFC South, this is a division that has two of the worst teams in the NFL. But let's start at the top. And so this is a take that has garnered some hate from me online, is that the Jacksonville Jaguars are overrated. So I have the Titans winning the AFC South. Not only do I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to help their offense and then be a more explosive passing game, when you have Mike Vrabel, you are going to have one of the best defenses in the league. As long as everybody's able to stay healthy, which has kind of held this team back the last couple of years, I do think that a healthy Titans team led by Mike Vrabel with some of the talent they have on offense is the best team in the AFC. So why do you think, though, that the Titans are a little bit worse than the Jaguars?
I mean, your reasonings are not wrong. I just am the unknown is such a big question mark for me in whether or not the Hopkins can really step up. I'm not saying that he's a bad talent. I'm just saying that they had AJ Brown. He did solid work, but he was they didn't go crazy. I don't really see the Titans going you have them at my ceiling for them 9-8, and I have them at their floor at 8-9. I really just have them that is all I can see. I can't see them going anything. I can't see them double digits, and I can't see them getting any less than 7 wins. It's just a middle of the pack team. Just so happens to be top of the pack of the AFC South. And I agree with the stance of the Jags could, but they won't.
So you say they won't. So I think the Jaguars are due to miss out. I think they're the most overhyped team. And I think that the hype train for the Jacksonville Jaguars needs to slow down a bit. This is what I'm really passionate about. So not only do I think Doug Peterson did such a great job with the play calling last year, but because of that, I do think that Trevor Lawrence is an overrated quarterback. If the Jaguars didn't go on to complete the comeback against the Chargers in the AFC wildcard round, they would not have this amount of hype. And that game was a little bit fluky. Trevor Lawrence was horrible in the first half. And then a lot of the plays after that, it was a lot of, underneath stuff and screens and really good play calls from Doug Peterson. And I said, if Trevor Lawrence played in Dallas, people would be calling him a screen merchant because he did a lot of that and a lot of throwing to running backs. And so I do think that this team last year, they had to beat a Joshua Dobbs-led Titans team in Week 18 when I'm pretty sure I could have started on the defense for that Titans team. They had to squeak out a win narrowly to even make the playoffs. And so I do think that a healthy Titans team has the talent, is going to be able to out-physical them. And I think the Jaguars have an overrated defense. And then you get to the Calvin Ridley factor. Calvin Ridley hasn't played football in 2 years. It's 23 months to be exact. And, he's about to turn 29. Odell Beckham's 30. So him coming off not playing for 2 years and suddenly is going to be this amazing wide receiver one and one of the best wide receivers in the league, to me seems like a silly, far-fetched idea. Obviously, I could be very wrong, but just in my heart of hearts, I believe in Mike Vrabel, and I believe in the Tennessee Titans. However, the team that I don't have faith in is the Colts, and somehow you have even less faith than I do. Why are the Colts going to be bad this year?
What can I say to make him look good? What what I mean? There's not much on this. You're not much when looking at the lineup. You're just like, man, that they did that right. No, it's just so hard to want to be good for this team. I mean, they have a solid offensive line, nothing crazy, nothing, but that's about all I can really see looking good on this team. I mean, Michael Pittman can be good, but I don't see him in a number one role where he is on this team. I see him as a fantastic number two on many of these teams, but
Yeah.
just having him as your number one with a rookie quarterback coming in, I mean, he's dynamic. Anthony Richardson is dynamic, and he might help them win some more games. I have them at their floor, in my opinion, at 2-15. But it really just depends on like Anthony Richardson, whether or not he's gonna really spark up or do anything like that. Because I don't really see anything else other than that factor being a reason that they're gonna win.
To me, I do think that this Colts team is going to be very similar to what we got from the Bears last year. That's also why I have them. I have them having an extra win. Just because I think their defense is a little bit better. I do believe in Shane Steichen. I think he's a really excellent play caller and offensive mind. I just don't necessarily think we're going to see that translate to a lot of wins, at least year one. Because Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is on the same kind of tier of really raw developmental quarterbacks, but on day one is going to be one of the top three most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL. He's like a Greek god turned into a Madden character. But he definitely needs to grow and develop, and there's not a whole lot of talent on this team. So I definitely do think that they're going to be in store for a long year. I have a little bit more faith in the Texans than you do because I think DeMeco Ryans is a really good defensive coordinator and defensive coach, and I imagine this defense is going to be pretty good and at least help them get over, win a couple of games, especially against like the Colts. So why do you have them at 3 wins opposed to my 6?
Very similar to what you're saying is that he's a great defensive mind. I think a lot of the games are going to be on the unders. But the problem is when you have this as an offense, like, oh no, you only let the team against you have 14 points, but you only scored 10. Like, that's what I can see in my mind. A lot of these games are going to be low scoring from the Texans, but they're going to have a solid defense to help them. I just think that their offense is it just needs to be grown another year. I'm not 100% on that running back room. I'm not 100% on CJ Stroud. It's just a lot of not 100% on that offensive side. I love the defensive side. Like, I love DeMeco Ryan and what he's bringing to the table for him. It's just my biggest what if is the offense, whether or not they can. Oh no, they're down by 3 points or they're down by 2 points. They need to go down and get in field goal range. I don't see them doing that a lot of times. So that's mostly the reason.
Yeah, I definitely, you don't want to just scout the helmet, but I don't trust any quarterback from Ohio State. And I don't necessarily think CJ Stroud's going to come in and be great as a rookie. Can he develop into, a Dak Prescott, Jared Goff level quarterback? Sure. Is it going to happen on this offense? Probably not. I just think that this defense is going to be a little bit better, and I think that's going to result in a couple of more wins. So now going from the worst division in football, let's go to the toughest division in football, the AFC East. And this division, I think any of these teams could actually have a legit chance of winning the AFC East. However, the team that I think will win the AFC East is going to be the Miami Dolphins. Now, why do I think the Miami Dolphins are going to be the best team? I do think that this is, first of all, contingent on Tua Tagovailoa staying healthy. That has not been something he's been able to do, even going back to college. But at least they bring in Mike White as a backup quarterback to at least give them someone who can come in and at least play at a decent, serviceable level, better than what Skylar Thompson did when he came in. But I really believe that Mike McDaniel is one of the top 10 coaches in the NFL, coming over from Shanahan, did a lot of the Shanahan stuff. It was super creative and got an insanely productive year out of Tyreek Hill. But having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, how do you stop those guys? You got 2 of the fastest wide receivers on the same team. That is a scary sight to go against. And this Shanahan schemes that love the run after catch ability and speed. You got the 2 perfect wide receivers for that. And then defensively, they're bringing in Vic Fangio, who is one of the top defensive minds in the NFL. And they have a lot of talent. You got Jalen Phillips, who I think could break out to be one of the top, kind of 6, 7, 8 edge rushers in the league. Jalen Ramsey will be coming back later in the year. Xavier Howard's had a lot of really good years here. They got talented safety, got a talented defensive line too. Zach Sealer's got a really big bag, and Christian Wilkins is a star on the interior. So I do think that the Dolphins are in store for a really, really great year. And so they're a team that I believe will win the AFC East. But you have the Jets winning. Why are the Jets going to win the AFC East?
It was a toss-up, in my opinion, between the two. I think I like the Jets defense just a little bit more than the Dolphins defense. And coming in with Aaron Rodgers, I have faith in Aaron Rodgers. I'm like everyone's saying that like the whole issue with Green Bay and him just not wanting to play and then coming back and playing, it was really weird. I think when he wants to play and like when he has a drive and a full force, that he will be very, very good. And I think that the Jets can squeak right over the Dolphins. I think it's, in my opinion, between those two teams, and then with the Bills on their heels. But I think those two teams, like you said, the Dolphins very well rounded, but I think the Jets just have a really beautiful roster defensively, and Aaron Rodgers coming in can really, really help them win those games, those close games. That's why I have them one win over the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that it's really between the Dolphins and the Jets. Granted, as I said, all 4 teams do have a shot. I do think the Dolphins will edge out the Jets, but the Jets do have a lot of things going for them. I think their defense is more proven than the Dolphins' defense thus far. As I said, I do think the Dolphins will have a good defense. But, last year they weren't a great unit. And I do think that, the Jets were the best defense in the NFL last year. And you have Sauce Gardner, who's either the first or second best corner in the entire league. So that defense is going to be legit. I'm just a little bit concerned about the offense. I do think it's going to be very similar to those Green Bay Packers teams the last couple of years that, Aaron Rodgers won 2 MVPs on. He's won 2 of the last 3 MVPs. And I think we're going to have a very similar offense to those teams with Garrett Wilson being your Devontae Williams. In fantasy football, he's someone that you definitely should target if it's not too late. He's going to be really productive, very Devontae Adams-esque in his stat line. But outside of that, the offensive line isn't great. Nathaniel Hackett really shit the bed last year in Denver. And then, the offensive line's not great. The weaponry behind Garrett Wilson is also kind of poor with like Alan Lazard and, Randall Cobb. So I do think that, Aaron Rodgers is capable of having the best team. But I'm just going for the Dolphins just because I trust Mike McDaniel a little bit more than I do Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett. But I can see it going either way. But we both are a little bit lower on the Buffalo Bills. We both have them in 3rd place in the division, even though they are the favorite to win this division. So why are we so low on them?
Man, time in and time out with the Bills for me is that they have all this hype and then they underperform. It's not that Josh Allen isn't amazing and so dynamic to watch and awesome to watch. It's just that they aren't really like helping the pieces that they struggle with. They struggle with the run game. They still have yet to bring anyone in that can really help them with the run game. Damian Harris, no. Like I don't, that backfield. I mean, even though Josh Allen can use his legs, I don't want my star quarterback running all the time instead of the running back. I need someone that could get me those 3-4 yards that I need to help give Josh Allen those open looks better. But like, it's just that's the big thing for me is that the run game is holding them back, and a little bit of the defense. I mean, it's just whether or not they can stay healthy. I'm not saying but it's the health for the defense and it's the run game are my 2 key pieces where I have them just losing out. I have them at 11-6. That's a solid record. They are squeaked out from the playoffs just barely.
Yeah, I do think I'm lower on Sean McDermott. To me, the Brian Daboll, Sean McDermott situation, to me, is very similar to when Kyle Shanahan was on the Falcons under Dan Quinn, where Dan Quinn led him to the Super Bowl as the head coach. The next year, Kyle Shanahan leaves. Then slowly the offense starts to get not as good as when he had this really good offensive mind, which I believe Brian Daboll is. And so I think that the Bills, not only do I think they have some holes on the roster, for a team that plays cold weather football and freezing temperatures, they're not the most physical team. And that's part of the reason why the Bengals and the Chiefs have been able to kick their ass repeatedly is because they just get out physicaled. And I think the issue with the Bills is they have really poor trench play. Von Miller is still in the pup. Who knows what he's going to play? But their offensive line is sneakily garbage. And then you look at their playmakers, if Stephon Diggs goes down, Gabe Davis as your wide receiver one? Are we relying on Dawson Knox or a rookie tight end? Like, I just feel like this roster has a lot of underreported holes. However, you also have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So if they're going to be a good team, it's going to be on the back of Josh Allen. But I think we both have them having some more struggles than some people might anticipate. And then the Patriots, we both have them at 8-9. I still think Bill Belichick's a great coach. And last year, their offensive coordinator was Matt Patricia. And so going to Bill O'Brien, who I think is an underrated, good offensive mind, is going to help this team tenfold. And I think there's actually a legit good chance the Patriots have a better record than the Buffalo Bills come the end of the year.
I wouldn't doubt that. I do like the Patriots. It's just when I see them, it's hard. All these close games, I see a lot of their games being very, very close games. And it came down to if Mac Jones gets the ball, can he get them that win? That final drive, like 1 minute, 2 minutes left, you're on your own 20. Go out there, Mac Jones. Like we'll give you the plays. Can he produce? Let's say he has 5 tries. I think he gets 2 out of the 5. That's, in my opinion, maybe 3 out of 5. I don't think he's gonna be so stellar to where he'll be able to help them out that much. But still, a solid 8-9 schedule. They're not the worst, but I could definitely see them beating out the Bills. It just really depends on how well they help Mac Jones.
Yeah, I definitely think out of all the teams in the AFC East, they do have the worst quarterback. Granted, Mac Jones is still a good quarterback, but they also don't have a true star playmaker like Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, or Stephon Diggs. So I do think that's going to limit them from truly competing to be one of the best teams in the NFL. And now let's talk about the AFC North, which is also a very tough, scary division in its own right. You have every team with a winning record, and I think that's very possible. We'll start off with the top 2. We both have the Bengals and Ravens. Why do you have the Bengals as the best team?
Not much to say. I mean, I love the Bengals. Everything about it, like Joe Burrow is awesome. I have them both, the Ravens and the Bengals, at 12-5. I just have the Bengals winning more in division games, even though sometimes they're not amazing with in division games. I mean, they do have a tougher schedule out of division. They go against the Bills once. They go against the 49ers. It's like those games could hurt them to where they could be in second, possibly third, but I still see them going to the playoffs. No doubt, as long as Joe Burrow stays healthy. I mean, I'm not saying that he's injury prone. It's just having that huge knee accident his first year, and then now the little calf strain at the beginning of the preseason. I'm not saying that's going to be lingering, but who knows what he's feeling, how he's feeling. But indeed, he got the bag, so he's going to be balling out for him. I love everything he does. I love the additions to their offensive line. Obviously, they have the best 3 wide receiver core. The first 3 guys in the league. I mean, T. Higgins can be a number 1 receiver on a lot of these teams. So you have 2 number 1s and a solid number 2/3 guy in Tyler Boyd. And you can't deny that defense as well. Very sneakily underrated, even though they do have 2 fresh safeties coming in there after they lost them. I am really high on them, just squeaking out the Ravens for the first in that division.
Yeah, I do think that both of these teams are really talented. The reason that I have the Bengals, maybe losing that game to the Ravens is, I think the Ravens and Bengals are both really talented on both sides of the ball. I just think that over the course of the regular season, the Ravens have a stronger offensive line than the Bengals. The Bengals don't have a perfect offensive line. This is one of the best units that Joe Burrow's had into his career, but they're still not a great unit. But, they kept both coordinators. Stock is up for Zach Taylor. They do have the best trio, as you said, I think unrivaled. And so I definitely do think that there's a really good possibility where, this number 1 team goes to the Bengals. I do think the Bengals have a strong player front in them, but for the regular season, I feel like the Ravens are going to edge them out. But they both got great cultures, especially the Ravens. I love their culture. I love what Harbaugh's doing here. I do really love their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, and then Todd Monken coming from Georgia. It's going to be interesting to see how Lamar translates to a more legit passing NFL offense. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that change. And so I think the Ravens have really good offense and not as great receivers. As I think, the Bengals have really good receivers, not as great of an offense, and both have insane defenses. So I'm just betting, I guess, on the offensive line play. But, Lamar Jackson's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, too. And so I think it's going to be fireworks when these two teams play. What are your thoughts on the Ravens?
The Ravens, my biggest, in the back of my mind, it's whether or not Lamar can get a full season. If he can get a full season, without a doubt, they will be contenders. It's just that. Obviously he's going to be able to pass to these okay wide receivers or unproven wide receivers in like Bateman and Zay Flowers. I'm just worried that it's going to be Lamar Jackson, like everyone's hopes on him staying healthy. It's going to be one of those things where you'll see him go down or like slide weird. Everyone's like, and it's like you could see the fall of the Ravens the moment that Lamar Jackson gets any kind of hurt, any kind of small tweak that could linger. If he can stay healthy, this Ravens team will be crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And then talking about the other two teams, they're both really talented in their own right. We both have the Steelers finding a way to continue the 9-8 streak of Mike Tomlin not having a losing year. This defense is insane. I think Kenny Pickett and George Pickens have decent potential. So I do think that they could end up being a sneaky good team and even a chance to actually make the playoffs. You're a little bit higher on the Browns. Why are you high on the Browns?
I think that now that Sean has a good half year under him or more than half year, I think that they can squeak out some good wins. It just really depends on him. They have a great offensive line, like a top 10 offensive line. I really like them. Nick Chubb, solid running back, and you have Amari Cooper, Peoples-Jones, and then Elijah Moore. This is a solid wide receiver room. It's where Deshaun Watson can make these plays on these guys. It's really just whether or not that defense can come through. I do love everything on the defense. It's on the younger side for that secondary. If they can come through with the stops they need, the Browns can get those wins. So yeah, I had them a little up.
For me, I'm starting to slowly back out on Kevin Stefanski. When he first was hired, I felt pretty good about him, but they just haven't necessarily translated to playoff success. And I think the way they handled the Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, I don't necessarily want them to be a good team also. And hopefully I think they're cursed. I think the Cleveland Browns just have a weird curse. And if there's one team you're not going to give the benefit of the doubt to historically throughout NFL history, it's the Cleveland Browns. You know what I mean? But, they did a lot of improvements on the defensive line, bringing in Zadarius Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson. And that's been the weakest unit of this team. And so, roster talent-wise, they have a lot of great players, but their season's really going to, hinge on if we get the formally elite version of Deshaun Watson, or if he just forgot how to play football for not playing for 2 years. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting. And now let's transition to the AFC West. And we, for the most part, we have the same rankings. Our record's a little bit different. We'll start at the bottom. The Raiders suck.
Yep.
Not a whole lot needs to be said. This defense has a lot of holes. It's really Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs, and not a whole lot else.
Exactly. You can't really say much. It's again I'm a little bit higher than on the Colts and stuff like that, but man, when you look at the whole roster, it's just a bunch of holes, and I am uneasy at their future. I do think that Jimmy Garoppolo is a solid quarterback. It's just when you have his success coming from a team so good in the 49ers where he didn't have to worry because the defense would be so good. He wasn't behind in a lot of games. So where you're all right, Jimmy, go out there. We need a drive. We need to score this drive. I don't see many of that. I see that he'll go in, he'll be adequate, maybe a below adequate, and it won't be nothing flashy or showy. I do think that Devontae Adams will get a lot of good touches and little sights, and I think they're going to be running the ball a lot too. So those two guys will shine. So
I think the offense is going to be good, but yeah, this defense is in store for a really rough year. The Broncos, I don't necessarily believe in the Sean Payton hype in year one. I think, losing a Joe Evero is going to hurt this defense. And then who knows what version of Russell Wilson we're going to get. him and Deshaun Watson are two of the most confusing analysis of all time of like what version of this player are we getting. So I think the offense is going to be okay. I think the defense will be okay, and I think they'll overall just be a decent team that no one really wants to play. But I don't really think they're going to make noise. But you have them at 10-7, so you believe in Sean Payton?
A good amount. I mean, me being a Saints fan, I do love Sean Payton. I mean, I still have them missing the playoffs by quite a bit. But a 10-7 record is solid. It'll turn a little bit of heads. Nothing crazy. I just am a little bit higher on Sean Payton helping Russell Wilson a little bit more than what he was last year. I mean, you can tell. I mean, Sean Payton's been very, very vocal about his views and stuff that he's talking to Russell Wilson. You see, a new day is a new crazy quote, like the whole "stop kissing babies." Like that was like it's a wild quote to say to your starting quarterback. I mean, I do completely agree, but I think that having Sean Payton will only help Russell Wilson. It's just whether or not how much he's going to soak up the information or he's just going to brush it off and do his own thing.
Yeah, Sean Payton's not necessarily a guarantee just because, his most of the time he's in New Orleans. He had Drew Brees, who's a Hall of Famer. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens with him without Drew Brees. The other two teams, though, we feel pretty good about. I'm a little bit lower on the Chargers just because I don't fully believe in Brandon Staley as being a good coach. I definitely think he's on the hot seat. If the Chargers don't win at least one playoff game, I think Brandon Staley might be out the door. But I do think Kellen Moore is going to help this offense be a lot more explosive. And then Justin Herbert, I think if you ask just about everybody, is like the fifth best quarterback and the like fringe of being an elite quarterback. But I still think that the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. I think they're going to have a really good year. I don't necessarily know if they're going to make it to the AFC Championship. Like I think that streak might end for the Chiefs this year. And obviously they did lose week one to the Lions without Travis Kelce. But I think they'll be all right. I think they'll recover, and they'll still be a scary offense. What's your takeaway from these two teams?
Chargers, I completely agree with the Stanley idea. I just think that Kellen Moore is going to help them so drastically. I mean, from Joe Lombardi. I mean, I like Lombardi, but he's just offensive mind wise is not as great as Kellen Moore. And the Chargers, I see Herbert getting to his great receivers. I mean, as long as everyone stays healthy, that's a big thing for that wide receiver core is staying healthy. If they have those two guys in that amazing giant Quentin Johnston play the way he did at TCU, they could be great. I had them just behind the Chiefs at 12-5, and then with the Chiefs, you can't deny the Super Bowl winners last year. If everyone stays healthy, if Travis Kelce comes back, obviously that was a big, a crazy thing to look at. All the receivers on that Chiefs team dropping incredible amount of balls, mostly Kadarius Toney, but still, it really just depends on staying healthy. I mean, Pat Mahomes is going to be Pat Mahomes. He's going to do his awesome things. Now it's just a question mark and whether or not his receivers can catch.
Yeah, the reason I'm a little bit lower on the Chargers is because I think they've yet to prove to me that if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3, 3rd and short, that not only offensively can they pick those 3 yards up to win the game, but defensively, I also don't think they can necessarily make that stop. I think that's what's holding them back. But I do think they're going to find a way to squeak into the playoffs. So as we do look at our playoff picture, so I have the Chiefs, being the number 1 seed in the AFC, followed by the Ravens, Dolphins, and just like the NFC South, the AFC South is going to be the 4th place division team. So what do you have for your division winners, and what order do you have them seeded at?
So seeded, it's Chiefs, Bengals, Jets, and then Jaguars. I know we have a little bit of the difference in who's winning the divisions, but if we look at it, if they're not winning the division, they're still making the playoffs. Like you have the Ravens and the Dolphins at winning the division. I have them still in the playoffs, Ravens and Dolphins. Yeah. So it's not that discreditable on these teams. And I think we still I think we have all the same teams except for the Jaguars and Titans. Because I also have the Chargers at the 5 seed, Ravens at 6, and Dolphins at the 7, at a very strong number 7.
See, I have the Bengals and Jets being the 5 and 6. I have the Chargers based off whatever tiebreaker ends up being being the last team, being the ones to knock the Bills out of the playoffs. But when you look at the entire, kind of playoff picture, I feel like this might be the first year of, Mahomes' career where they're not defending or fighting for the AFC Championship in Arrowhead Stadium. And so to me, the two teams I'm deciding between is the Bengals and the Jets. I feel like the Bengals are a little bit of a team of destiny. Like this to me seems like their year. They got the quarterback, still got full roster. They had to pay Job, but they kept all the coordinators. They're mostly intact. They kept a lot of the same talent. I do think this is their year. But then when you look at the Jets, Aaron Rodgers is not washed like some people online will tell you. And this is going to be very similar to Brady's first year in Tampa, where they went on to win the Super Bowl. So my AFC Championship is between those two games. What two teams do you have in your AFC Championship game?
Same as last year. Chiefs and Bengals.
Just run it back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it almost seems like if the Bengals are going to do this and win it all the way, they have to go into Arrowhead and beat them. That's like the thing in my mind, like just how the script needs to be written. Again, yes, you were right. With everyone, they just paid Joe. Like there's a question mark whether or not they're going to be able to keep T. Higgins. This is the time where they're going to have everybody. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. It's just whether or not they can do anything with it. And I really am really high on them. I had the Bengals at the Chiefs in Arrowhead and the Bengals finally getting it done and winning the Super Bowl.
Hey, to be the king, you got to kill the king. So for me in the AFC Championship, I've been really going back and forth. I've decided I'm going to have the Jets represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And so then when we look at our Super Bowl matchup from the last video, we both ended up having the 49ers be the NFC representative. I have the Jets facing them off. You have the Bengals facing them off. But we both have the AFC team winning. I'm going Jets. You're going Bengals. These are our official three-handed bandits Super Bowl predictions. Jets, Bengals. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm really excited. Before we get out of here, though, let's go ahead and talk about some award predictions real quick. And so obviously we went through our playoffs and Super Bowl. But MVP, our MVP, both of us have the MVP coming in the AFC. And both of our MVP picks are our Super Bowl teams, quarterbacks. So I have Aaron Rodgers winning his third MVP in 4 years, and you have Joe Shiesty. So why do you think it's going to be Joe Burrow?
Again, it goes back to he has everything, all the pieces, the best offensive line he's ever had in the NFL. He's healthy. He's looking great. And he needs it, man. He is so determined, such an awesome guy to be around, just an awesome guy to watch. I think that he can really help them get to the Super Bowl. And if he does, I no doubt, if he makes this crazy run of just being Joe Burr, being Joe Shiesty, all these nicknames he's given it. You're not giving nicknames for being crappy. You're giving nicknames for being that guy, and he's that guy. MVP, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I feel like MVP. I feel like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Aaron Rodgers all have a chance at it. It is a bit of a narrative award. Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are due, but I also think Aaron Rodgers has a built-in narrative, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. When we talk about the Defensive Player of the Year, my defensive player was Micah Parsons over the NFC. Who is yours Defensive Player of the Year?
A little crazy out there. Myles Garrett. I think that he's going to be stellar for that Browns defense. And having a full year now, I think he's going to be crazy. He's an awesome talent, offense, awesome on the line. And I think he goes 20-plus sacks, a lot of pressures to get him that Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, when you look at the Browns defensive line, having other people that teams have to worry about besides Myles Garrett should help him have a better chance. But I do think it's a three-horse race between Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, and Nick Bosa. TJ Watt's a bit of a shout in there as well. But, Garrett, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons are the, top three edge rushers in the league. A bit of like a 1A, 1B, 1C situation. Rank them how you want. So it just depends on who's going to end up, being most productive. When you talk about Offensive Player of the Year, you had Jay Jettas over the NFC. But the person I have a team that's going to be really, really explosive this year, Tyreek Hill. Something I want to say about Tyreek Hill, his speed is the single greatest attribute or trait that any player has ever had in NFL history, the most game-breaking speed of all time. And I think he's in store for another really insane year here in Miami. Then when we talk about offensive rookie, both of us had one in the NFC and Bijan and Bryce Young. But defensive rookies, I'm going a little bit of a dark horse, but we'll go with yours because you are going a little bit more chalk.
I have to. I mean, Will Anderson, just such a driving force for Alabama coming on to this great D'Amico Ryans defense. I think that he'll shine, and I really want this for him. I mean, especially for the Texans. I'm a kind of a Texans fan, but when it comes to them, I want to see them grow, and I think Will Anderson's in the right direction for helping out this defense.
Yeah, he's the favorite for a reason, and I wasn't trying to be a little bit takey. I probably would select him myself, but I'm going Joey Porter for the Steelers. His dad was a Steeler. He's now a Steeler. I think this defense is going to be scary. They're going to get after the quarterback at a high level. Blitzburg is a real thing. And as a man corner with good ball skills, I think he could have a really good rookie year of making some plays. Christian Gonzalez was someone else I kind of was thinking about throwing a shot at, but I'm going Joey Porter as my final prediction. And then Coach of the Year, you obviously had Motor City Dan Campbell in the last video. My prediction in tandem with the AFC East winner and the Offensive Player of the Year, Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins head coach. I think super, super highly of him. Not only is he vaping on the sidelines, but he's creating explosive offenses. And I think the Dolphins are going to be, in store for a really good season, ... barring Tua's health. But I think he's a legit great coach, and he is the person who I do think will end up winning it. For the first coach fired, we both predicted Ron Rivera in the NFC. But to me, Josh McDaniels, the coach of the Oakland Raiders, is somebody else who is definitely could be in line to be fired. Is there anybody else in the AFC that you think could be one of the first candidates fired?
I was actually going to say Josh McDaniels. You took that from my mind and said it. That was the one in my mind. I was like, man, out of all the teams that are going to be looking so poor and it not being their first year as a head coach, it's him. He's the one where he's been there for a little bit and he's not going to have a success with a very crappy roster. So, yeah, that would be my first coach leaving.
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski and Brandon Staley are both kind of dark horses. They're both on the hot seat, and if they start off slow, could get the axe. But we both think they're going to be at least competitive, solid teams. But overall, before we head out of there, is there anything else you would like to say about this AFC conference?
Nope. I just can't wait. Sunday's rolling around. I'm excited.
I know it's coming very soon. This is an absolutely brutal conference, but we both agree whoever makes it out is going to be the king of the NFL. But overall, if you stuck around for this long, please go ahead and like and subscribe and stick around. We have a weekly picks video, weekly picks series starting very, very soon. So if you stuck around for this much, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back very soon for y'all. Thanks, guys.